People, man, here to collect. We want the kingdom, so surrender the debt. We want it all. Arms, legs, in your neck. 1,000 yard stare. You ain't staring this back. No, you're not. It ain't not. Place down at the back. Ain't no beating around the bush. Boy, we coming direct, right? Aiming up a Satan, boy, you better defect. Speak the word of the truth, baby. Don't live where you're at. Well, the war, boy, inside of the seal. We got the California chrome and it's stuck concealed. You know the truth might surprise you like a gender reveal. The raw man, Navy chill, your outside the wheel. Leaving suckers in the dust. Sit back and watch the rubber peel. Not gonna stop till we got our enemies to deal. Live by the law for real. That's what we supposed to do. Eat them, get in the past, nigga. That's time to go. Raise your hand, practice. It's 12 tribes in the building. A holy people, not the building. We like it to building. Raise your hand, practice healing. 12 tribes in the building. Teach the women and the children. We legacy building. Here's the joy when I'm looking at my people's face. Instead of part, I wouldn't want to be no other race. And though we living in hell, our fear is still prevail. With every reason to fail, but God places here. God is covered by his wings of protection. I put it on the line for the brothers in my section. We feeling good, it ain't no coincidence. When you strive for the law, you be void of offense. Shout out to the bar, the drinks is on me. Practice makes perfect, so perfection we gon' see. We gon' some rough ways, but we stuck to the plan. Knew that if I did his will, one day then I'd be the man. Blessed to the man whose soul would understand. I'm not the one who could, rather be the one who can. I'm proving with my love, and the spirit's getting deeper. Some thoughts by yours truly, aka my brother's keepers. Raise your hand, practice. It's 12 tribes in the building. A holy people, not the building. We like it, keep building. Raise your hand, practice healing. It's 12 tribes in the building. Teach the women and the children. We like it, keep building. In conclusion, know the basic points of improvement. Still recruiting, keep the team, my nigga, with the school. I'm trying to figure out if Trump will shoot it out with proof. Students claiming they got the truth. Now who you fooling? Ain't no section. Got some wisdom at the mind, bro. Some of these JB snakes on their belly, too many guys behind. When they prophesy, they throwing the loop and screw the door. Just trying to wake you from your fluid. Order to confuse us, doing it right. Life and times of an Israelite enduring the fight. 7 lamps to keep the light. Hold tight with all your might. Get some insight, keep you right. And not let them folks do an example shown. They got it all alone. We're repossessing it, we're taking it home. Breaking burn not alone. Words can break bones, so watch what you say. Make it count and pray for the day to be delivered.
All right. All praise, honor, and glory to the Most High. While you have a shot, it's your brother Ahmath. IQAhmath, first name IQ is all the same. Wanted to tap in with the fam real quick. Wanted to do a recap and a visiting of the Feast of Dedication. All praise to the Most High. The Feast of Dedication begins this evening, the 6th, and will end on the 13th at even. Okay. This is a memorial, which is in conclusive with holy days of the Most High. Some may not classify it as a quote unquote holy day, but just as a remembrance day or memorial, that's fine too. But we include them in celebrations that Israel is partaking in. And to be even more key, actually, we do consider it here at MLTC as a holy day because the scriptures tell us that we're to keep it in the same manner as the Feast of Tabernacles. So if it's in the same manner, minus the requirements of dwelling in booths, but the construction of it being an 8-day feast, the first and the last days being Sabbaths, if the scriptures say that it's supposed to be kept in that same manner, meaning the number of days and which days are holy and which are not holy, that's how we do it. So just wanted to tap in with y'all, man, to revisit the meaning of it. Some of y'all are new, some of y'all are just coming in. It's always Israel waking up. we'll be concluding and well, not necessarily concluding, beginning um, our feast and celebration with our brothers over at Believers of the Way, and we'll be convening. So I did want to make sure that we had a lesson of understanding for those that follow MLTC, and just do a recap of really what's the Feast of Dedication about. Why are we celebrating it? For those that don't know, this will be new information for you that you need to consider, understand, and start following. And for those who are already in the spirit and those that are already keeping it, all praise to the Most High and have the understanding of it. All praise to the Most High. I hope you have a blessed, not even hope, I pray that you have a blessed Feast of Dedication all 8 days. All 8 days, man. Well, I mean, we got a strong, powerful Heavenly Father, man. You know, the children of Israel, man, blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans love to turn up, love a good party. You understand what I'm saying? You know, yeah, we love to have a nice little celebration. What greater time than now? The Most High gave us 8 days to celebrate, and in times past, we've had um, events going each day. I'm telling you, Jake's tapping out after day two, tapping out day three. To make all 8 days partying, man, how Israel does, man, you be burnt out. Remember, the first day and the last day are Sabbath, so the days in between are not, minus the weekly Sabbath, right? Uh, so a lot of times you got to get up and go to work the next day, but who wants to do that when you're having such a good time with your people? But nonetheless, man, the Most High make sure that we're taken care of. We ain't worried about no crappy one day on December 25th, some made up BS, following after the ways of the heathen and Saturnalia and all of the rest. Y'all know we're probably, obviously, we're going to touch on that later on just for archive's sake and information's sake. Talking about quote unquote Christmas, one little crappy stinking day. And the Most High said, no, no, no. The real celebration in the wintertime is 8 days. 8 days. Let's get to the scriptures. I'm not gonna be long, but I do want to make sure that this is covered and we got this information available. Um, let's go to Jeremiah. Jeremiah 6. Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 16 will lay the foundations of what we're going to be touching on today, this evening. Jeremiah 16, verse 16 says, thus saith Yahweh, stand ye in the ways and see and ask for the old paths. If you want to know and you want to have an understanding on where and what we're supposed to be doing, that's always the question that every Negro and Hispanic right now that's quote unquote woke is scratching their head saying, where did we all go wrong? How do we fix this? What's going on in our community? Why did it happen to us? The Lord said that you're going to have to stand in the ways. Why you got to stand in the ways? You got to be out there in the highways and the byways where the men of the Lord are. The Most High said he's not going to push his prophets and teachers into the corners anymore. They're going to be readily available. We're going to be highly visible for you to see, for you to reach out, for you to question, for you to come up and ask so you can get edification. The Lord says, stand in the ways and see, and then ask for the old paths. Where is the good way? And walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein. There's always going to be scoffers. Are going to be 2/3 of Israel who's going to turn it down and say, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know. Give me my Christmas. Look out. There's a sale on Christmas trees right now. Hold on. 99-cent store got gift wrapping paper going for the low right now. What's the balance on my credit card? Oh, I still got room to charge something? Yeah, because you want to make sure that Saint Nick is credited for giving your kids gifts. That's what you'd rather do. The Lord said that the true worshipers of the Most High is going to seek after the old paths, the good way, and walk therein. See, going, I just quoted that, John 4. John 4, and we're going to read, just getting to the point. John 4, 23 and 24 says, but the hour cometh, and now is, right now, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him. Notice it said two things. True worshipers are going to worship the Father in spirit and in truth. It's not going to be about, oh, well, I'm not going to debate about nationality. I'm not going to debate about the law. I'm secure in my faith. I know where I'm at. I'm delivered. I've been saved. Anytime you've been lied to, the Most High said that it is a requirement that you find out the truth. Yahweh Shah said, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth is going to make you free." The Father said, "Now is the time that that we're required to worship Him in spirit and in truth, because that's what He's looking for." He said, "For the Father seeketh us to worship Him." Verse 24: Yahweh is a spirit, and they that worship Him must worship Him in spirit and in truth. So, with those things understood, we got to identify with what's the truth. Was there a winter celebration in the scriptures? Absolutely. Was it called Christmas? Hell no. Jeremiah 18, we're going to read 12 down to 15. It says, "And they said, there is no hope, but we will walk after our own devices." That's the children of Israel, man. This is why we went into captivity. This is this is what we relegated to. This is how we became so complicit in Babylon. We just said, "Oh, forget it, man. You know, we're just going to continue following the ways of the heathen. We're just going to continue to be seduced and follow after the Hellenistic ways of the so-called white man." They said, "There is no hope, but we will walk after our own devices." Oh, we're going to make up Kwanzaa. Dr. Ron Karanga out of Long Beach made up that BS African spirituality custom. Took a little bit of African spirituality, took a little bit of the Feast of Dedication. We're not doing that. Not walking off our own devices. And we will, everyone, do the imagination of his evil heart. That's the type of mind frame that you got to have if you're not going to follow after what the Most High said. You got to have an evil mind on you. The Most High did not sanctify December 25th as the next day you should be celebrating. The Negroes are still, bloated from Thanksgiving. Hispanics still bloated from Thanksgiving 2 weeks ago. Now you niggas is ready to go out here and get your trees up and glaze your hams up and go right back and do it again. All over again. Immersed in wickedness, immersed in idolatry, immersed in paganism, immersed in lies and evil hearts. The Most High said we got to break that. Verse 13, "Therefore, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, ask ye now among the heathen who have heard such things. The virgin of Israel have done a horrible thing." So as we're scattered amongst the heathen, the Most High said, "Well, ask among the heathen. You see the virgin of Israel, the chaste wife of Yahweh? What's going on? A horrible thing's going on." Continuing on, it says, "Will a man leave the snow of Lebanon, which cometh from the rock of the field? Or shall the cold flowing waters that come from another place be forsaken? Because my people have forgotten me. They have burned incense to vanity, and they have caused them to stumble in their ways from the ancient paths, to walk in paths in a way not cast up." See, these ways that are out there right now, the Most High didn't cast these things up. These are all coming from the ways of men. And the Most High is not sanctified in it at all. At all. Let's stay in Jeremiah. Jeremiah is cold when it comes down to cutting us and seeing where our people are going wrong at. Jeremiah 4:22 says, "For my people is foolish. They have not known me. They are sottish children." Most High said sottish meaning stupid. That's just the bottom line. You want to get down to the brass tacks of that word, stupid. My people are foolish. They have not known me. You know Saint Nick, you know Santa Claus, you know White Jesus, you know the best place to go get your trees, you know how to decorate, you know how to, get the extension cords to light up the house, you know all of that. You know how to build snowmen and all that other foolishness. You know how to ring the bells and trick the kids and say, "Oh, Santa's on the roof." You Negroes is living in projects with 20 stories. Santa's on the roof. Jake's is living in tenements and apartments with no chimneys. Oh, but Santa's coming, huh? Opening up the door and pathways of lies for your children. And then when they grow up and they start teaching and talking lies, they start going against your quote unquote rules of the house. They start being deceptive. When your daughter starts running out, you got particular clothes for her to wear, and she's packing in the whole clothes in a backpack. When your son is out there selling and smoking weed and drinking lean at school and getting in trouble, and they say, oh, the teachers, they picking on me. Oh, no, lying. What are you going to do? JJ, are you hanging out with them bad boys down the street, that gang? You better not be. Nope. Mama, I don't do that. I'll go play basketball. Meanwhile, they go outside. Hey, what up, cuz? Hey, blood. As soon as they see him. And then you say, I never knew. He wouldn't lie. He was such a good kid. And guess what? You open up the door for him when you start lying to him, talking about bunnies laying eggs and fat white men are sliding down your chimney, which you don't even have one, leaving out cookies, you eating them, putting teeth underneath your pillows, talking about the tooth fairy and left you $1, honey. All of those traditions have to be done away with. It's all rooted in paganism and wickedness, man. That's why the Lord said, my people are foolish. They have not known me. They are sottish children, stupid children, and they have none understanding. This is why the Most High sent the prophets last. He said, man, everything else has to be put forth, and then the prophets got to come last. Matter of fact, we're going to get that one next. In Corinthians. Sent us last because we basically got to be the cleanup crew. Got to be the cleanup crew for everything that's already been laid out there. Now we got to go out there and actually bring forth the righteousness. Okay. Where is that at? Hold on. Shalaki, I can't remember where that one was at, but I know it's in Corinthians. Is it? I thought it was. Maybe I'm tripping. Oh, you see. I want to say it's 1 Corinthians 6, but let me see. I'm gonna have to come back to that one because it just popped in my head, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. So let me go back to Jeremiah. Matter of fact, hold on. Give me 1 second, y'all. Let me grab my Bible. So get Shalaki, going back to Jeremiah. Most High says, for my people is foolish, they have not known me, they are Sodom's children, they have none understanding, they are wise to do evil. So when it comes down to doing evil, when it comes down to doing wickedness, we top the cake on that. I mean, there's no denying that the children of Israel know how to get into some stuff. We know how to do some wickedness, right? But when it comes to doing good, look at this. But they are wise to do evil, but to do good, they have no knowledge. So when it comes down to doing good, doing the righteousness of the Most High, our knowledge is very limited. That's why the Most High said, yeah, I bear them records. They have a zeal for me, but not according to knowledge. I bear them record. They have a zeal for me, but not according to knowledge. You know, we want to give righteous praise to the Most High. We want to, give credence to our big brother and Savior, Hamashiach Yahushua, but we lack the knowledge of how to do it. Romans 10:1-2 says, brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved. Not everybody, not the world. Paul said his heart's desire. He said, man, the strongest thing, the only thing that I want in my desire and prayer to the Most High for Israel is that they might be saved. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. See, we lack the knowledge of the Most High. And before you know it, we go about establishing our own righteousness. And then we end up doing all kind of evil and wickedness. If I can't remember the scripture off the top, I will be upset. But I'm trying to remember where it is. I could have sworn somebody sitting back saying IQ is right there. Here it is. Uh, See, I'm gonna be scratching my head until I remember. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. Man, sure will. Uh, See, I'm already past it. I already know it. Dang. Oh man, I can't remember what the scripture. It's like, it's gonna come to me when I'm done, more than likely. But for time's sake, let me just get to it. Let me get to it. Scripture tells us, man. Dang it, I can't remember that one. But John 10:22. So we talked about a winter feast, winter celebration. Where, when, and where is it? If we're going to be quote unquote true followers of Christ and the Messiah, what was he celebrating? Well, John 10:22 says, and it was at Jerusalem, the feast of dedication, and it was winter. Now, Yahweh Shai is acknowledging, and all throughout Jerusalem, everybody's keeping a feast of dedication. Was that found in the law? No, but obviously it was a dedicated feast, it was a memorial, and it was seriously taken by all of the Jews in Jerusalem, including Yahweh Shai, to keep it as a holy day amongst his people. And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of dedication, and it was winter. We ain't talking about no damn Christmas. Okay. So let's get to the history. Let's get a little bit of history on it. And we'll get right to the point. Okay. Before we get there, let me show y'all a couple articles. Let me show you this real quick. Okay. Hanukkah celebration canceled as Jewish symbols removed in towns. This is how you know they're not the true people. This is how you know they don't stand for the laws and the commandments. This is how you know they don't stand for their traditions at a time when, if they were the people, they're not exuding the spirit of their ancestors. They're not exuding the spirit of the Maccabees. The Maccabees fought, died, was persecuted, tortured, right, for keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, for standing in defense of the nation, for standing in defense of rededicating our temple to be able to go back and perform righteous sacrifices for our people. You understand what I'm saying? And now all of a sudden, because of a war going on between Israel and Palestine here in America, they're saying, "Oh, we're not in the mood. Oh, we don't want to look at it as if we're taking sides and it's becoming political. So we're not going to celebrate. We're going to take those things down." Is that the spirit of the Maccabees? Is that the spirit of dedication? Is that goes completely against the whole reason why we keep this feast? The whole reason. Look, a Hanukkah celebration in Virginia has been canceled, and Jewish symbols have been removed from holiday light displays amid Israel's ongoing war with Hamas. Hanukkah is Judaism's festival of lights, and Jews gathered with family and friends on 8 consecutive nightfalls to light one additional candle in the menorah. This year, Hanukkah will be celebrated December 7th to the 15th. They're off on that day. That's the fake Jews keeping it on those days. We keep it on the 6th, right? Continued on. It says a menorah lighting had been scheduled to take place at the Second Sunday's Art and Music Festival in Williamsburg, Virginia, on December 10th, but it has since been canceled. Shirley Vermillion, the festival's founder, told the Daily Press that the menorah lighting seemed very inappropriate given the war. I mean, the whole damn dedication is about war. Do you see how they just insert and start adding on and, acting as if they want to be politically correct and they want to make sure that nobody's insensitive to what's going on? That's how you know they're not the people, man. At all, because you're not keeping it in the same spirit that the whole festival was based upon. I mean, the feast day was based upon. Look, we should be very clear. It is anti-Semitic to hold Jews collectively responsible for Israel's policies and actions, and to require a political litmus test for Jews' participation in community events that have nothing to do with Israel. The statement said those standards would be applied to another community. The menorah lighting would have been led by a local community rabbi and, quote, had nothing to do with Israel or the conflict, the statement added. I mean, get out of here with this foolishness. This is what they're doing. They're packing up. In DSTM, I showed y'all they was already canceling Christmas celebrations going on in Jerusalem. I mean, this is how backwards they are over there, defiling our land, keeping these false traditions. And then over here in America, they're canceling because they're scared. Look, White House response to cancel Hanukkah celebration sparks fury. That ain't just Virginia. It's all over the country. The White House has faced backlash over its response to cancellations of public celebrations of Hanukkah. Speaking during a briefing earlier today, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said every action had been taken in attempting to make sure the Jewish community feels safe amid an uptick in anti-Semitism and cancellations of Hanukkah celebrations in the U.S. She added, we have seen an uptick in hate just more broadly in different communities, obviously also in the Muslim community. And so we will do everything we can to make sure that these communities feel safe. So Babylon steps in and says, we're canceling your Hanukkah. Hey, not the Hebrew Israelites, not the true Jews. We continue on. We celebrate in the spirit of our ancestors. The frauds and the GMO people, they say, okay, fine. We're outraged, but okay. Imagine that. In the spirit of this whole feast. It's to stand in defiance of your enemies and going to war with those that were against our laws and our commandments. They're buckling under pressure. First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1. Let's get to the history. And it happened. After that, Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chetam, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. So Alexander the Freak is rising to power after his daddy. Let me get a little visual here. I've shared this PowerPoint before. I'm just going to go through it a little bit with y'all. And just to get a quick understanding regarding dedication, it says dedication by definition is the quality of being dedicated or committed to a task or purpose. So every year when we celebrate Feast of Dedication, it's supposed to reinvigorate your dedication to keeping the laws and the commandments, your dedication to being an example to the flock, your dedication to building and gathering your nation, your dedication to being a better man or woman of the Lord. Being committed to the task or purpose. What's the purpose? To gather and seal the elect, to help build and establish families and relationships and marriages and upraising of our children. What's the task? To teach repentance and the true gospel. That's why we continually put ourselves in a position of dedication. Our people fell into a condition known as Hellenization. What does that mean? Hellenization, other British spellings is Hellenization, or Hellenism is the adoption of Greek culture, religion, language, and identity by non-Greeks. All right. So when we're talking about Alexander, after reading chapter 1 and verse 1, right? As a matter of fact, I might want to switch this up a little bit. So when we're talking about Alexander, let me just do it that way. We're talking about Alexander. There was a number of different battles that he had to fight in order to gain domination over the world. Okay, So one of which is the Battle of Isis in 332 BC, which is Alexander versus Darius III of the Persians and the Medes. Okay. There was a 331 battle of Guagamela, which was also another battle that they had to face as Alexander the Freak went into power. By 333 BC, he dominated and won. Okay. So continuing on in verse 2, it says, and made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth and went through the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. I'm going to drop down and read verse 6. Actually, I'm going to continue on. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. So when it says that it happened in verse 1, we're talking about Job 9:24 really being manifest. The so-called white man coming into power after dominating in war. Now he has become a world power, and all the kings of the earth now are become tributaries and subject unto him. The earth had been given into the so-called white man's hands, who was identified as the wicked, and now he rules all nations with the iron fist. Verse 5, it says, and after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, and such were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So here's another battle, the Battle of Granicus in 334. There's another battle he had, the Battle of Halicarnassus in 334. So these are all the particular battles that he was going through, right? All to establish his rulership and dominance throughout the known world. As you can see, all the green is Alexander's empire, right? All this was under Alexander's rule. He did this in his early 20s, right? And then he died. Some say he died from syphilis. Some say he died of poisoning. Due to the nature of the so-called Greeks, I'm of the belief that he died of syphilis and some sexually transmitted disease, due to his infidelities with all of his little, homosexual relationships. So when it said that he divided, he parted his kingdom among them, speaking about his four generals. Now there was more, but it was more than that. But the four main heads that were to establish empires after the fact would be Seleucus, Ptolemy, and if we're talking about Seleucus, we're talking about his rulership was from Asia to India, Asia, Mesopotamia, India. He had all of that locked down, right? You got Ptolemy, he had Egypt, Cyprus, Petra, Palestine, all of those particular areas. This is why when you look more into the rulership and what was happening during the New Testament, this was all under where the Jews were scattered primarily in many places that these two men ruled. So the Hellenization started there. The Gentile mind state started within these guys' kingdom. Okay. So continued on, you had Lysimachus, he ruled from Thrace to Asia Minor. You see his years. And you had Cassander, he was ruling over Macedonia and Greece. These are his four buddies, man. These are his four buddies that he parted his kingdoms to after his death. After his death, right? And if you read like in Daniel 11 chapter, it tell you that his kingdom was parted to the four winds. The four winds is representing his four generals. Okay. They also had wars within themselves. This is what you call the War of the Diadochi. The Diadochi Wars were wars that was happening between these four generals. See, the so-called white man does not care. He wants supreme power, right? He will fight himself in order to be ruling. Okay? And this is exactly what he did. So I'm going to continue reading the Maccabees. Verse 7, it says, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule, everyone in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. You see that? So only when the so-called white man rules, man, there's evils all throughout the earth. Notice once they got into power, man, all hell was breaking loose. Psalms 92:7 says, when the wicked spring as the grass, and when all the workers of iniquity do flourish, it is that they shall be destroyed forever. See? When they were flourishing, when they had the power in their control, man, only thing that happened was wickedness was coming forth, springing forth like grass, iniquity was flourishing, only to seal their seal their fate. Let me get that in Proverbs 29:2. Proverbs 29:2 and says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. And that's what was going on under the rule of the Greek. I mean, under these Greeks, right? So many evils were being multiplied in the earth. That's going back to Maccabees. Verse 10, it says, and there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been in hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. So this is around 167 BC. Epiphanes, meaning power manifested. This is what we're talking about. So amongst those four rulers, they're all trying to establish kingdom, rule and empires, warring amongst each other, right? When the dust settled, this is the separation of the lands. You see, Seleucus had the biggest empire, followed by Ptolemy, then by Lysimachus and Cassander. These are just different maps showing the rulership. Now, I said that the days were evil during that time, right? Now, I said a wicked root came up out of that. So, how bad could this guy have been? Okay, let's look a little bit about Antiochus. In 168 BC, Antiochus IV Epiphanes set up an altar to Zeus in the temple at Jerusalem. This led to a Jewish uprising in the leadership of the priest Mattathias of Modin and his 5 sons, the most prominent of whom was Judas Maccabeus, from whom the movement took its name. After more than 2 decades of fighting, Judea achieved independence as a kingdom under Syrian rule. Its royal dynasty was known as Hasmonean, after Hasmon, the grandfather of Mattathias. So there was a dynasty coming under the Levites and the priesthood, known as the Hasmonean dynasty. There's a man named John Hyrcanus, son of Simon Maccabee. He went into a great conversion of the heathens, forcing them to be Jews if they was going to be amongst us. So there's a lot of history that goes in regards to dedication and everything that transpired during these times. But looking at Antiochus, he took our temple, destroyed it, set it up to worship Zeus. So at this particular time, we're looking at what we need to get back. We need to get back our temple. We can't allow the temple to be continually destroyed. But what was going on during this time? Going back to Maccabees, the first chapter. We just read 10, right? Verse 11. In those days, went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. Now, notice it said that came out from amongst Israel. These were men who knew who they were. These were men who were running around at the time. They were still, trying to hold on to tradition and the laws and so forth and so on. And they said, man, the hell with this. We just need to go ahead on and cooperate, man. We just need to go ahead on and be complicit and follow along with the ways of the heathen. We need to go ahead on and make a covenant. Let's make an agreement, a bond, a lasting bond and agreement. Because man, we've been catching hell ever since the Greeks took over and had much sorrow. Well, we just got the reading when the wicked are in authority, the people mourn. If they reflected on that, they wouldn't even be thinking it. They wouldn't even be second guessing what was going on. But the Lord said these are wicked men that went out there doing this. And you can see the same things going on today, i.e., Yahweh Shai's Day, the little Thanksgiving celebrations that went viral in our community, in the Israelite community. Telling everybody, oh, it's okay now. You can eat swine. Don't worry about that. You can make up your own holy day. You can just turn evil good and good evil. And oh yeah, we know it's Thanksgiving. We ain't doing that. We doing this now. Woe unto you that call good evil, evil good. That's why the Most High said, your feast days I hate, I despise. Because we do it, our people's out there doing it in wickedness, doing it with evil intentions, and doing it out of ignorance, and then standing on it like, yeah, we ain't doing nothing wrong. Unbelievable. Making covenants with the heathen that are round about us. Continued on, it says, so this device pleased them well. Then certain other people were so forward. So forward, doubling down, standing on it, unapologetic, unrepentant, saying, man, I ain't wrong. This is a good thing. Then certain other people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen. So now they've been fully authorized to go out and carry on like the heathen. Who are some of these men? You got a man named Jason. I'm not going to get into all the history, man. I suggest y'all read all of the Maccabees. You'll get a better understanding about Jason and Menelaus and these guys. Renowned Jews that came in and seduced the people and had our people in complete sin and wickedness, man. That was doing things for money. Guys got what's the other cat's name, man? Alcimus. These are all wicked men that came out of Israel that wanted preeminence, that had no problem adopting Greek customs and paganism and the whole nine, and infusing it into the Israelite community. These are the guys. Jason, Hebrew, flourished in the 2nd century BCE. Hellenistic Jewish high priest in Jerusalem under the Seleucid king Antiochus IV Epiphanes. By promising greater tribute to Antiochus, he obtained the high priesthood. See how that works? Promising greater tribute. Oh, I'm going to give you more money. I'm going to make sure I drain the pockets of the people so I can make sure you get a greater tribute from us. But in turn, I want to be high priest. Who can authorize that? Antiochus, because he's controlling everything that goes on. He's saying, well, look, I'll make you high priest, but you're going to have to kick in some more money. So it says he obtained the high priesthood, scorning the traditional Jewish monotheism of the Pharistic party, promoted Greek culture and religion throughout Judea and Palestine. When Antiochus retired to Jerusalem after his expulsion from Egypt by the Romans and began a violent purge of all Judaic practices, Jason was displaced by Menelaus, another Hellenizing Jew, after an unsuccessful attempt to regain the high priesthood by capturing Jerusalem in 170 BCE. Jason was forced to flee to Asia Minor. Menelaus is another brother who was completely wicked and evil, that did a lot of damage to our people. You can read about Menelaus and his evils in 2nd Maccabees, the 4th chapter. Well, Simon, you can read about him in 2nd Maccabees, the 4th chapter. Menelaus also was in the 4th chapter. So that's suggested reading while you're in your spirit of dedication throughout your 8 days. Okay. So Menelaus, he was high priest from 171. I mean, these guys was wicked as all outdoors. Read about it. Like I said, for time's sake, I just want y'all to make sure you go back and read it. But you'll get a greater understanding about these wicked men that came out of Israel that seduced our people and had them following after the ways of the heathen. Was totally okay with swine's flesh being sacrificed on the altars. I mean, was allowing all kind of abominations in the name of money, preeminence, power, authority over the people. All of these things. And they was butting heads with each other, scavenging and fighting for power. Okay. So he was high priest from 171 to about 161 BC, successor of Jason, the brother of Onias III. Onias was a righteous brother. The sources are divided to his origin. According to Second Maccabees, the 4th chapter and the 23rd verse, he belonged to the tribe of Benjamin and was the brother of Simeon, who had denounced Onias III to Antiochus IV, and revealed to the Syrians the existence of the treasure of the temple, according to Josephus and Antiquity of the Jews. Menelaus was the brother of Onias III. All right. Let's look at this. So it says Hellenistic tendencies. Although during the 3 years of his pontificate, Jason had given many proofs of his attachment to the Hellenistic party by building a gymnasium in Jerusalem and by introducing Greek customs. Well, hold on. What do we read down here? In First Maccabees 1 and 13. Then certain other people were forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen. You know what they was doing in there? Wrestling naked, having orgies, gay all kind of gay activities going on in there, sodomite activities, man. And the people was like, we want to be a part of that. Jason said, well, guess what? I'm going to help build up a gymnasium. I got license to do so. You understand? So this is the type of things that they was doing and allowing our people to get into. Continuing on, it says he built a gymnasium in Jerusalem, and by introducing many Greek customs, the zealous Hellenists of the stamp of the Tobiads plotted his overthrow, suspecting him of partiality to traditional Judaism. At their head stood Menelaus, who professed the utmost contempt for the religion of his fathers and was ready to commit any crime in order to gratify his ambition. Dropping down, Menelaus' first act was to seize the sacred vessels of the temple, stores in order to meet the pecuniary obligations he had incurred. This sacrilegious act, which was regarded even by the Greeks as heinous, came to the ears of the deposed high priest Onias III, who publicly accused Menelaus of robbing the temple. The latter, afraid of the consequences of this accusation, induced the king's lieutenant Andronicus, who had his share of plunder, to get rid of Onias before a formal complaint had been lodged with the king. According to Onias, was decoyed from the sanctuary of Daphne, in which he had sought refuge and was murdered. This guy was so bad, man. It said that the Greeks was even like, damn, you doing that? We wouldn't even do such a sacrilegious act in our temples to Zeus and Diana and so forth and so on. It was like, this dude is dangerous and he's a complete coon sellout. He's surprised the Greeks at how backstabbing and double crossing and wicked and double minded he was. Dropping down, it says this accusation caused the execution of several Jews who, although they prove beyond any of the doubt that Menelaus and the Symmachus had desecrated the temple, were sentenced to death. Here's more on his conflict with Jason. Antiochus regarded this proceeding as an affront upon his majesty, and having been compelled by the Romans to leave Egypt, he marched against Jerusalem, massacred the inhabitants, and plundered the temple. In this, he is said to have been assisted by Menelaus. According to Second Maccabees, it was Menelaus who persuaded Antiochus to Hellenize the Jewish worship and thereby brought about the uprising of the Judeans under the guidance of the Maccabees. Yeah, I'm not going to read into that book. Here's a number of different wars. Before we go there, I'm going to go back. Let me go back. And we're going to read some more out of the Maccabees. All right. So let's drop down. We're still in chapter 1 of Maccabees. Just going to jump around a little bit before we get to the meat and potatoes. We're going to drop down, read verse 29. And it says, and after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judea, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude. So Antiochus was running around. He was collecting his tributes. He said 2 years had expired, and he sent his chief collector into the tribes of Judah, who came to Jerusalem with a great multitude. So the chief collector is running around. He's getting his tribute. He's down in Judea now, collecting money. Reading verse 30 says, and spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore and destroyed much people of Israel. Guess what? That's how the so-called white man. Isn't that how we did the Native Americans? Spoke peaceable words to them. You can't trust this devil, man. Psalms 55:21 says the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn swords. Verse 20 says, he hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. That's the so-called white man. This is what he did to our people. Right? Verse 30 again, it says, and spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore and destroyed much people of Israel. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. So he went in, pillaged the land, took the women and the children captive, killed the men, destroyed the city all throughout Judah, all on a mission just to go and collect tribute. Dropping down to verse 37. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it. See, they go into the sanctuary, they were killing the priests, they were killing anybody that was around. Complete massacre. Complete massacre, a genocide, if you will. They shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it, insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers and became strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her. Did you hear that? See, this is important because when you read in Ephesians, the 2nd chapter, 11th verse, it said that wherefore in times past, remember you were Gentiles in the flesh. Well, what happened? It just said that because of this slaughter, this massacre, this genocide that was going on, people fled. And it says, and because they were so distant, the traditions of the sanctuary became strange to those that were born in her. So we lost our way. We had no idea of what the sanctuary meant to us, what the laws and the commandments meant to us, what the sacrifices meant, the whole nine, the books of the law. Lost it all. Continued on, it says her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. This is why the Apocrypha is so important, and this is why the Christian apologists and the Catholic Church and the Puritans removed the books because they knew that this history was important. The Protestants, I said the Puritans, Protestants removed it. See, because this history is important in unlocking the understanding of the New Testament. Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbaths into a reproach, her honor into contempt. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. See, what was once the honor of the people, the sanctuary and the temple of Israel, now it's become dishonored. And the dishonor amongst the people was growing, waxing worse and worse. Verse 41, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. You want to talk about New World Order, one world, this, that, and the third. Outside of Nimrod, here is the real incarnation under the so-called white man's guise and the establishment of the beast system. Right here. Everybody should be one. Verse 42, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. So the heathen had no problem dropping off their customs and becoming as Greeks. But look at this. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. What came along with it? You got to consent to the religion of the Greeks. You got to go start following the ways of America. Start following the ways of the Greeks. Go follow the ways of the heathen. Consent to the religion. Consent to Christmas. Consent to New Year's. Consent to Easter. Consent to Veterans Day, Memorial's Day, 4th of July. Oh, consent to eating all of the unclean foods. Profane the Sabbath. Don't worry about what day the Sabbath is. The Sabbath can be every day. Oh, we don't give a damn. You want to work? You're gonna. You want that job? You're working on the Sabbath. Make excuse if you want to, but you're consenting to it and sacrifice unto idols and profane the Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days. So no longer were we allowed to keep the holy days, the Sabbaths holy. They were to be profaned, shunned, desecrated. New days would now be the state of worship for our people. You understand? That's exactly what was going on. Ain't no different with what's happening right now. Verse 46, and pollute the sanctuary and the holy people. Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable and all with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. This is everything that was going on. The objective was to profane our people, profane the laws and the commandments of the Most High, create a manner of uncleanness within our people, cut our children off from the bond of in the covenant of circumcision, the men children, cut that covenant off. See, they knew everything that it was going to take to leave us unacceptable in the eyes of our power, and they stripped us of it all. Verse 49, to the end that they might forget the law and change the ordinances. And they did a hell of a job doing that to this day. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said, he should die. So if we wouldn't do what the Greeks commanded, if we didn't follow after these abominable ways, death was waiting. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom and appointed overseers of all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. So this was a commandment. This is why you had guys like Menelaus, Alcimus, Jason, and all these other wicked priests that was in there conducting these wicked sacrifices, taking account of the people. You understand what I'm saying? Same way that the so-called white man's got it going on right now. Oh, if you see something, say something. You know, playing all these spy games. Everybody watching who doing what, who's not being compliant, who's not following boss. Tattle to hell. They didn't sacrifice boss. I seen them with the Bible. They still got the parchments. Kill them. That type of thing is going on. See verse 52. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, everyone that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land. Vast majority of Israel, man, said, you know what, we're going to be complicit and compliant with the ways of our oppressors, man. Count us in. Where do I sign up? Should I bring the pig tomorrow or should you? Sacrifice got to be done. I'm changing my name. What you going to change yours to? All of those things, right? 53, it says, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor. See, for comfort and for safety. So when we talk about, and the scriptures talk about us being pilgrims in the land, don't think that there's nothing new under the sun, that these type of things won't happen again. Being outlawed and not being able to keep your holy days and our holy days and professing ourselves to be Jews and standing on the laws and the commandments of the Most High. They're already catering, talking about quote unquote hate speech and, driving off religious freedoms from here and there and not being able to pass out flyers in certain communities, not being able to be complicit to the false histories and the lies that are teaching in the schools, not being able to keep your traditional kids now are all requiring to wear uniforms, and now you can't wear your fringes on your uniforms. So you get all this type of stuff. How do I know? My kids, when they were still in middle school, they had to wear uniforms. Guess what? We was very clear with the school and said, no, our kids cannot tuck their shirts in and they have to wear these fringes on their shirts. This is our religion. This is our quote unquote religious rights according to the First Amendment. Here's the laws in the scriptures. You wouldn't tell no so-called quote unquote Jewish family not to do it. You had an ADL and everybody all down your throats. So fall back, and my kids is gonna move like this throughout the school year, and they had no problem with it. So for the families that have those issues, stand on your laws, stand on your commandments, stand on the faith. Allow the Most High to fight for you. You can do it. You ain't got to be like, hey man, you know what? I got to wear a uniform in my job, man. I can't. Man, tell your boss, bro. I got to wear these. If you bought the uniform, and you should have no problem being able to fringe it up and say, hey, it's mine. There's more than one way to skin a cat. That's the lesson learned, man. Our forefathers were standing on quote unquote business, as they say. When it came down to the laws and the commandments, man, they left no room for compromise. It was, hey, this is what we have to do to the ends of whatever the judgment is. But we have to do these things. You understand? Our people was going through hell to be able to have this book still in our hands to learn from, to redeem, for us to be able to get understanding about repentance and find ourselves in the grace and mercy of the Most High again. Look at this, verse 57. And whosoever was found with the book of the testament, or if any committed to the law, the king's commandment was that they should be put to death. Let me jump up a little bit. Verse 56. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burnt them with fire. See, there was a concentrated effort of destroying our records, destroying our books, destroying our learning. So I'll be damned if we don't stand on it and say, you know what, hell no. But blood was shed for me to be able to, learn and follow after these commandments and redeem the ways of my forefathers and foremothers, man. I'll be damned if you're going to tell me that the school policy or the job policy. Guess what? Well, according to Esau's law, man, I've got a First Amendment that I got to stand on. Yeah, I know it might ruffle a couple of feathers with co-workers, man, but guess what? They're not the ones who's actually got a reason to do anything outside of what your policy states. I got a valid reason. So don't worry about comparing or I don't want to have favoritism. It ain't favoritism. It's the law. According to America, that's why the Most High has us in this place to be able to do the most work in gathering the lost sheep of the house of Israel because of the laws, because of the liberty that we have in order to, get out there and do the work of the Lord. Not to talk about, man, hey, man, I'm in slavery. I got to render to Caesar. I can't do this. I can't do that, man. I mean, they making me go to the Christmas party this year. It's mandatory. What? Mm-mm. Can't do it. Can't do it. Blood was shed for this. See, whosoever was found with any of the book of the testament, or if any committed to the law, the king's commandment was that they should be put him to death. Thus did they by the authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the city. So they made monthly rounds, checking who was on code with the Greeks, purging anybody who wasn't. Now, the 5 and 20th day of the month, they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of the Most High. So here they are sacrificing swine's flesh now. It's all been replaced. They're defiling the temple. Continuing on, it says, at which time, according to the commandment, that they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. See, women was putting their lives on the line to make sure that their sons stayed in the bond of the covenant, that followed after the ways of our forefather Abraham. Yahweh Shai was circumcised. I mean, these are the things that our people were standing on, man. And that, Shalaki, and they hanged the infants about their necks and rifled their houses and slew them that had circumcised them. Howbeit, many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. You see that? They were willing to die over this. And here you got America running around talking about, we're going to go ahead on and cancel Hanukkah. And they're supposed to be the true people, man. Settling on a day and an important memorial like this? I don't think so. I don't think so. So let's get to a conclusion of the matter. All right. So we've seen a little bit. Again, I suggest everybody get back and read. Let me see if there's anything else I want to cover over here. Yeah. So in reading the second chapter, third chapter, you hear about the different wars. Judas Maccabeus, you know what? Let me for the newbies out there, you may not be aware, but let me give you a little background real quick. So second Maccabees, excuse me, first Maccabees chapter 2, verse 1. In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Joarib from Jerusalem and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons, Johanan called Caddis, Simon called Thasi, Judas who was called Maccabeus, Eleazar called Avaron, and Jonathan whose surname was Apphus. And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, Woe is me, wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people and of the holy city and to dwell there, when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers. So he said, man, woe is me, man. Why was I born to see this misery? Why was I born in a time when our people was being completely oppressed, killed, slaughtered? The temple was being destroyed. It's been delivered into the hand of strangers. It's defiled. I don't want to be here. So Mattathias raised his sons to be in defiance of the Greeks, to preserve the laws and the commandments, to be examples for the nation, to be warriors for their people, right? So later on down the line, Mattathias killed a fellow Israelite who was getting ready to bow down and worship after the manner of the Greeks and sacrifice swine's flesh on the altar. And he said, Hell no, I'm not going to do that. They wanted him to do it. He turned it down, man. Uncle Tom came up and said, I'll do it. Mattathias went and put him to death. Let's read right here, verse 18. Now, therefore, come thou first and fulfill the king's commandment. This is after the king's officer was telling Mattathias, Come on up, sacrifice swine's flesh, show all your people how you're in line. Come now first and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathen have done, yea, and the men of Judah also, and such as remain in Jerusalem. He's saying, Look, everybody's doing it. You know, they say, Hey, man, everybody celebrates Christmas. You don't? What's wrong with you? Come on, everybody's involved. Mattathias said, Man, I don't follow everybody, especially the damn heathen. They said, Well, the men of Judah and Jerusalem, they doing it too. See? It says, So shalt thou and thy house be in the number of the king's friends. Don't you want to be a good old servant, man? The white man's going to love you. Continue on. It says, And thou and thy children shall be honored with silver and gold and many rewards. Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice, Though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him, and fall away every one from the religion of their fathers and give consent to his commandments, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. Yahweh forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. We will not hearken to the king's words to go from our religion, either on the right hand or to the left. No compromise. Verse 23. Now, when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment. Which thing, when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled. Neither could he forbear to show his anger according to judgment. Wherefore he ran and slew upon him the altar. See that? He slayed his own brother because he was getting ready to sin and be an example for the rest of Israel to say, okay, well, hey, man, he did it. Mattathias is tripping. Look, and the king's commissioner who compelled men to sacrifice, he killed at that time, and the altar he pulled down. So he went in complete rebellion. Killed the king's commissioner, tore down the altar. No more sacrificing swine's flesh here. We're taking a stand. Thus dealt he zealously for the law of the Most High, like as Phinehas did unto Zambri, the son of Shalom. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, "Whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me." So Mattathias took a stand. He said, "Listen, it's about the laws and the commandments. Whoever is zealous for the law, follow me, and we're getting ready to suit up. We're not having it. We're in full rebellion of the Greeks, man. I just went and killed one of their messengers. I tore down the altar. All hell is about to break loose. Now, if you want a coon and brown nose, stay here. Anybody who's zealous for the law, y'all come with us because it's about to go down. We're about to change the world." Let me read down to verse 51. Now it says, "Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their name." This is when they're getting ready to go to war. They're getting ready to engage in the first war. Mattathias is, having a rallying call, hyping up the troops. It says, "Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time. So shall you receive great honor in an everlasting name. Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness? Joseph, in the time of his distress, kept the commandment and was made Lord of Egypt. Phineas, our father, in being zealous and fervent, obtained the covenant of an everlasting priesthood. Yahushua or Joshua, fulfilling the word, was made a judge in Israel. Caleb, for bearing witness before the congregation, received the heritage of the land. David, for being merciful, possessed the throne of an everlasting kingdom. Elias, for being zealous and fervent for the law, was taken up into heaven. Ananias, Azarias, Mishael, by believing, were saved out of the flame." He's speaking about the three men in Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Being by believing were saved out of the flame. Daniel, for his innocency, was delivered from the mouth of lions. And thus consider ye throughout all ages that none that put their trust in him shall be overcome. See, he had to rally our people up, man. And what did he do? He reflected on all of the victories, all of the favor that the Most High had on our people. That's what we got to do. When we're put in times of despair, times of pressure, times of oppression, when it's seeming like we ain't got no choices, man. But my job is telling me this. Oh, my family telling me that. The Lord said, man, you got to think about the times and the victories that the Most High stood behind the faithful and the zealous and the valiant for the word. And you never was overcome. That's how the Most High fights for us. Continuing in verse 62, it says, "Fear not then the words of a sinful man, for his glory shall be dung and worms." And he said, and don't listen to nobody that ain't keeping the laws of the Most High. All right. So long story short, multiple wars were fought between Judas Maccabeus, Mattathias, Simon, Jonathan. There was multiple wars that went on, as you can see, all throughout the map, fighting back to regain our laws and our commandments, fighting back to regain our temple, going at it with the Greeks, right? And here's a list of some of them: the Battle of Apollonius and the Battle of Saran, the Battle of Emis, the Battle of Beth Zur, the Battle of Beth Zechariah, the Battle of Adasa, the Battle of Elasa. These are all of the different wars that the Maccabees were fighting to maintain the laws and the commandments for our people, to regain the dignity that we once lost, the shame that our people had to endure, to gain back the temple, so that we can get back to making righteous sacrifices for the Most High, repenting for our sins. See, here's one little. I'll close out with that, but let me get to the other part of the history in First Maccabees 4. Let's get to the next part. So, going throughout these battles, in 164 BC, Judas Maccabeus finally won the battle against Esau, Idumea. You see here. verse 29 of chapter 4. So they came into Idumea and pitched their tents at Bethsura, and Judas met them with 10,000 men. Idumea is Greek for Edom. So make no mistake about it. These Levitical priests and the rest of the dark-skinned, brown-skinned Jews were fighting against these Edomites to regain back what's rightfully ours. They stole, pillaged, and plundered our property. We went, fought, and killed to get back what was rightfully ours. Verse 30. And when he saw the mighty army, he prayed and said, Blessed art thou, O Savior of Israel, who didst quell the violence of the mighty man by the hand of thy servant David, and gavest the host of strangers into the hands of Jonathan, the son of Saul, and his armor bearer. Shut up this army in the hand of thy people Israel, and let them be confounded in the power of their horsemen. See, we was outnumbered, outarmed, but the power of the Most High rested with Judas Maccabeus and the valiant men of the Lord. I'm gonna drop down, read verse 36. It says, Then Judas and his brethren, behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up and cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary. So after they defeated the Edomites, the next declaration was to go back, cleanse, and dedicate the sanctuary. Verse 37. Upon this, all the hosts assembled themselves together and went up into Mount Zion. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate and the altar profaned, and the gates burned up, and shrubs growing in the courts as in a forest or in one of the mountains, yea, and the priest's chambers pulled down, they rent their clothes and made great lamentation and cast ashes upon them on their heads. So when our people seen how badly taken care of, and how desolate and desecrated the sanctuary was, man, they went into complete mourning. I mean, it was complete abominable how they did it. They couldn't do nothing but cry and mourn. The pillar of our power destroyed. Verse 40, and fell down flat to the ground on their faces and blew an alarm with trumpets and cried toward heaven. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary and bear out the defiled stones into an unclean place. And when they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profane, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it, wherefore they pulled it down. So did you hear that? They had to pull down the altar, destroy it, because it already was profane. They didn't want to half step and shortcut and say, hey, just clean it up. Yeah, they were sacrificing swine's flesh on here for the past few years. Just clean it up, man. Maybe. No. They said, tear it down. We're going to rebuild it fresh. And laid up the stones of the mountain of the temple in a convenient place until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them. Then they took whole stones according to the law and built a new altar according to the former, and made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple, and hollowed the courts. They made also new holy vessels, and into the temple they brought the candlestick, speaking about the menorah, and the altar of burnt offerings and of incense, and the table. And upon the altar they burned incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light in the temple. So this is where you get the menorah from. The so-called white man, he said, the fake, well, the GMO, Revelation 2:9 people, you know who they are. Got to be careful on this YouTube thing. They have a 9 candlestick menorah. Where they get that from, it definitely ain't the scriptures. The menorah is supposed to have 7 candlesticks, right? And they say you're supposed to light one for each day. Yeah, you don't see that in the scriptures. Day one, we're gonna light one. Day two, we light another one. No, the whole candlestick was lit for the temple to have light. That's what you do. If you have a menorah throughout your 8 days of the feast, you can light your menorah, show your dedication, show your remembrance of what was going on during the temple, right? Nothing wrong with that. Continuing on, it says, furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table and spread out the veils and finished all the works which they had begun to make. Now, on the 25th day of the 9th month, that is tomorrow. I mean, that's the 6th. I'm recording this on Tuesday. So when it airs, you're going to see it on the 6th. Like I said, because we'll be celebrating live in real time with our brothers and believers of the way. Uh, but according to the Hebrew calendar, the ninth month, 25th day of the month will be tomorrow. We're not talking about quote unquote the Gregorian calendar, Julian calendar, whichever you prefer, of December 6th. No, we're in the ninth month. Okay. Continuing on. It says, now on the 5th and 20th day of the ninth month, which is called the month Caslu, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it, even in that it was dedicated with songs, citherns, and harps and cymbals. So it's a day of mirth and gladness, man. You're supposed to be playing your songs, your music. Turn on your your Israelite. I want to say little slakia. Turn on your Israelite songs. Have a feast, a joyous time. Keep in remembrance of this feast, man. The blood, sweat, and tears that our brothers and sisters went through, man. Uh, to rededicate the temple for our people, to preserve the books of the law, to fight off the heathen, to revile and rebuke the temptation of buckling under pressure and becoming as the heathen. We're to celebrate that, man. We got some great, great men and women in our history, man, that stood strong for us to be able to do it today. So it says we got to go back. Look at the time and what day. Remember, that's why we read earlier in Jeremiah 6, seeking the old past. It said, look at the time and the day. Just look what happened with the heathen did. And now we dedicated it. Now we got songs, citherns, harps, cymbals. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the power of heaven, who had given them good success. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days and offered burnt offerings with gladness and sacrifice of deliverance and praise. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold and with shields and with the gates and Salaki. And the gates and the chambers they renewed and hanged doors upon them. So if you want to dedicate, you want to decorate your homes and all of that, you can do so. Not in the same fashion that they doing it with Christmas. No. You want to do some things inside the house, it's all good. If you got manners to do it outside, do it outside. But there's no problem with decorating and showing your dedication back to the Most High. All right. So it says, thus was there great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away. Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season. Hello, where do we see that at? In Leviticus 23rd chapter. We have seasonal feasts. Matter of fact, let's go there. It's important, according to the calendar and according to the law of the Most High, that each feast be kept in their season. There's no way that you should be having Passover in the wintertime. There's no way that you should be having a feast of dedication in the summer. There's no way in the world that you should be having the Feast of Tabernacles in spring. No, not according to the monthly calendar, not according to the seasonal calendar. Everything has a season that it's supposed to be kept in. Leviticus 23 and verse 4 says, these are the feasts of Yahweh, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. This is why Passover is beginning with Abib, meaning green ear, the first month of the year for us. And it moves from there on out. That's always happening in the spring. And every feast thereafter will fall in this particular cycle during the seasonal time. That's why we read in St. John 10:22. Let's go back there one more time. And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of dedication, and it was winter. So when we're reading it, it says that it's supposed to be kept in its season. Verse 59, right? Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of dedication of the altar should be kept. So this is a holy feast day of dedication and memorial that should be remembered and kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days from the 5 and 20th day of the month Caslu with mirth and gladness. At that time, they also built up. Oh, I'm gonna just stop there. I don't really need to read that. Let me get one more in Second Maccabees. Second Maccabees 1 and 18, and this is where I was talking about from the beginning regarding how it's to be kept. Okay. Verse 18. Therefore, whereas we are now proposed to keep the purification of the temple upon the 5 and 20th day of the month Caslu. So they're still talking about dedication, right? It says we are proposed to keep it. We thought it necessary to certify you thereof, that ye also might keep it as the Feast of Tabernacles. So how are we supposed to keep it? It says keep it just as the Feast of Tabernacles. We don't have to do the dwelling in booths for 7 days. However, the ordinances of it being an 8-day feast, first and last day being Sabbath, so forth and so on, those things is what it's talking about as the Feast of Tabernacles and of the fire, which was given us when Nehemiah offered sacrifice. After that, he had builded the temple and the altar. Okay, so we see how it's to be kept as a holy day, right? Um, and it's for 8 days, man. A joyous feast that we're supposed to be having of dedication, the Feast of Lights, as it's also known, right? And we celebrate what light? The light of the law. Here's a little history. 22-year-old coin hoard gives hard proof of the Book of Maccabees, say archaeologists. Now look at that. So now we're getting historical proof that the Book of Maccabees and its history is true, right? Psalms 85 and 11 says, truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from heaven. When it's saying truth is going to spring out of the earth, it's talking about archaeology. Archaeological finds is going to validate the truth of the word. It's going to validate the Bible, right? That's what the Most High is acknowledging. So when we see this type of history, look, a 2,000-year-old fortress unearthed in Jerusalem after a centuries-long search. Accra fortification, fortification built by Hanukkah villain Antiochus IV Epiphanes maintained Seleucid Greek control over temple until its conquest by the Hasmoneans in 141 BC. This is the wall that Antiochus built up to control Jerusalem, and this is the wall that Hasmonean dynasty under Mattathias and Judas broke down to regain the temple. So the archaeology is there. Archaeology is there, right? To furtherly show and prove the truth about our history. So when we're reading and we're seeing, look, the archaeology backs it up that this is all real and all true. Then you got to really take it to heart and you got to really understand and know what was the sacrifices being made, man, for our people to go forth and carry out this deed in regaining the temple back, right? So that's important. I pray that brothers and sisters, man, got some edification. If it was a revisit on the information, all good. Just make sure that you're keeping this feast day holy and enjoying yourselves. For those that's not with us, we're praying for you, keeping it with you in the spirit. And as the youngsters say, man, turn up and enjoy yourselves this evening. All right. I'm still scratching my head, man, kicking myself because that scripture I was trying to remember, and watch it come to me after I sign off. And I'm gonna be mad, and I'm gonna be like, man, dang it, I can't believe this. Here it goes, right here. All right. Uh, before I want to give one more shot. One more shot. Bear with your brother. Uh, nah, this ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work. I'm so mad at myself that I can't remember that scripture, and I know it's in Corinth. I want to say it's in First Corinthians 6, but might not be. Hold on. I'm gonna have to find that one and redeem myself and bring it back to y'all, man. Oh man, I can't believe. Hold on. I thought I had it. Thought I had it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to double back on it, man. I'm gonna have to concede that I. Oh man, all praise to the Most High, man. All praise to the Most High. Just when I was about to give it up, just when I was about to sign off, man, the Most High said, "No, relax. I'm gonna show you." I was saying prophets, it's apostles. No wonder. 1 Corinthians 4:9, man. Getting back to it. All praise to the Most High. Why you help shot? 1 Corinthians 4:9 was a scripture I've been looking for and could remember all dang day, and I kept saying, I know it's in Corinthians. Here it go. For I think that Yahweh have set forth us the apostles last as it were appointed to death. For we are made a spectacle unto the world and to angels and to men. Verse 10, we are fools for Christ's sake, but ye are wise in Hamashiach Yahushua. We are weak, but ye are strong, ye are honorable, but we are despised. See what the apostles go through, man, as men of the Lord. Um, the Most High said that we got to be sent forth last. All of the folly, all of the lies, all of the ignorance, everything else, that goes before us, because what we had to go through with the truth to knock down every barrier of lie, right? So we come in last. We batten clean up. It says that as it were appointed to death. Ooh, see, I ain't even sharing. Hold on. Shalaki. As it were appointed to death. Imagine that. So when you sign up for this, man, Paul said he's a prisoner of Christ. You're doing a life sentence with Mashiach Yahushua and these laws and these commandments, man, as an apostle. Verse 9 of 1 Corinthians 4. For I think that Yahweh have set forth us the apostles last as it were appointed to death. For we are made a spectacle unto the world and to angels and to men. Notice how the so-called BHI, Black Hebrew Israelites, are a spectacle unto the world. Everybody hates us. Everybody's questioning. Everybody's wondering, do we got the truth? Who is it? We're being slandered. You got the ADL on one side beating down the door. You got the uh, Southern Poverty Law Center over here. You got the FBI over there. All the alphabet agencies were worried about black identity extremism and so forth and so on. Spectacle unto the world. I mean, look what happened with Kanye. Look what happened to uh 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 Kyrie Irving damn near a year ago today. Spectacle unto the world. And to angels and to men. See, as my elder Ross I was saying, he said in verse 10, we're fools for Christ's sake. He said, we're fools for Christ's sake, but who are you a fool for? Santa Claus? Janus? The Roman god of beginning and endings, which you're going to celebrate on July 1st? I mean, January 1st? Or the 31st at midnight? Whatever the folly our people's into? I mean, are you going to go ahead and celebrate July 4th when you were still slaves in 1776? I mean, who are people going to be fools for? I tell you what, man, I'd rather be a fool for Yahweh's sake and be wise in Hamashiach Yahweh than to be looked at as a fool for any other reason. All right. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and get on out of here, man. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, man. I want to encourage everybody to continually keep the commandments and fear the Most High. Enjoy your feast of dedication. Of course, we'll be checking in throughout the week, but for day one, there you go. All right. So with that, I'm gonna get on out of here, man. Shalom.